Greetings. Welcome to another broadcast of I Have a Testimony. I'm your host, Brother Willie Muhammad.
God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us.
He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.
Today, we're continuing our series, which is highlighting some of the young upcoming stars in the Nation of Islam. Last week, we had Brother Rashad Muhammad from Mosque number 64 in Austin, Texas, who shared with us his meeting with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Minister told him that he would like to meet my father's family one day. And so the minister said, well, let me meet the family. And so after my youngest brother, he met my mother and shared some words with her and my father and their union. And then he met with my sister and they exchanged some words as well. And then it was my turn and my older brother's turn. And so we held, I held the minister's right hand and my older brother held his left hand. Of course, again, terrified. But the minister said that, he said, do you know what you do for me? And so he said, you give me hope. He said that this next generation is the greatest generation that we have ever produced. And then he said that the work that your mother and father have done to help you be where you are, and you're standing on their foundation.
Today, we have with us a double treat, brothers and sisters. We are blessed with the presence of our young sister Aliyah Muhammad, who is an MGT, a graduate of the Elevated Places, which is an independent school in Houston, Texas. And she is a member of the multi-championship junior MGT drill team of Mosque number 45 in Houston, Texas. She's joined by her mother, who is a successful businesswoman, an attorney, an MGT, and also a member of Kingdom Come, Sister Qiana Muhammad. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, sir.
Got it right. So assalamu alaikum to both of you all.
Walaikum salam.
So thank you all for joining us today, and we're looking forward to this dynamic interview, and we'll get right to it. So I'll first start off with asking you this question, Sister Aliyah. So you are a graduate of Elevated Places. Can you share with us some of the things you loved about attending Elevated Places?
Well, some of the things that I love about attending the Elevated Places, it was very family oriented, and all of the students, even though we were a small school, we were a big school at heart. We all got along. We were like family. The teachers, I'm still close with all of the teachers to this day. And I was actually the valedictorian of my class. And we were one of the first people to present a senior project. And by that senior project, we had to talk about different things that we have learned throughout the years of being a freshman, junior of high school, and put it all in one presentation, and to give the judges, a group of people, our purpose in life and explain to them what our next step is after we graduate from the Elevated Places.
So, Sister Qiana, we know that the school was started by members who are in the Nation of Islam, and it was your decision to accept Islam as taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which would even pave the way for your daughter to attend a school such as Elevated Places. So can you share with us how you actually came to learn about the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and eventually come to join?
And yes, before I start, I want to say thank you so much for inviting us to be on the show, because I was ready to give my testimony. You were saying at one point, like, people were hard to find. I'm like, please let me give my testimony of a man that we all know and love. And also happy Father's Day to you and to all of the fathers out there. And as a gift from me, please go back and look at Brother Ishmael's lecture today on NOI.org, because he came with it today. And so in answering your question, I have always been introduced, I guess, to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan through his work and his lectures, and have heard him speak on numerous occasions, even before joining the Nation of Islam. But it was my husband, Brother David, actually, who began attending the mosque and going to the mosque, and registered first. And he would, of course, talk to me about, you know, the classes and the different things that he was learning. And I went to the mosque with him. And in me being who I am, I just wanted to learn more and more. And so I would attend the study group sessions. And at that time, you could like ask questions. You know, we would have nights. I would go to Muhammad Mosque 27. And there were times where the minister would let you ask anything. And so I learned a lot about the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in Los Angeles from that experience. But that's how I became really introduced into the actual teachings and like the Nation of Islam as a religion, as an organization, even though I've had listened to the minister for years.
You say you listened to the minister for years. Was that like other family members were playing his lectures or videos or something?
Other family members, other people that I have grown up with in my life. I remember him on the top college tours, during the college tours. I believe he came to a college, in LA at some point. So I've listened to him. We sat and listened to the Million Man March in the car, like just was mesmerized, just sat in the car and just listened to the whole thing. And so every time I hear him and I've listened to his voice or his lecture, there's just been, something very attractive about, him and listening to him.
Wow, beautiful. And Sister Aliyah, so last week, and this is right in accord with the question that your mother just responded to, I asked Brother Rashad, who he's Brother Roberts from Austin, the student minister's son. I asked him about how thankful he is about being born to Muslim parents. So my question to you is, how do you feel to know that you and your siblings have, how do you feel and how have you and your siblings benefited from your parents making a decision to join the Nation of Islam and accept the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
I want to personally thank you for allowing me this platform to give my testimony about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And as I answer this question, it was very, very beneficial for us to have this solid foundation of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad given to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It taught us our values in life. It taught us how to make a great decision, and it taught us how to be more connected to the source, how to be more connected with the law. And we all are young adults. I just got made to my 20s this past February. So all of us are in our early 20s, and we're fighting that fight as all youth do in the nation or all around the world, just period, of making the right decision and which way to go, and using that platform and that foundation from the nation. It makes that decision a little bit easier for us because our morals is just different, and our purpose in the life is more present than the typical teenager or the typical young adult.
Leah, as I talked with Brother Rashad last week, that in the Nation of Islam, at the age of 16, our children are given an option where they can make a decision on their own whether or not they want to join. Some do and some don't. But you made the decision to say, something, I want to become a registered member in the Nation of Islam. What allowed you to make that decision?
Well, I made that decision. I wasn't 16. I waited till about, I think 18. I made the decision because I wanted to be sure that I was choosing to be a part of the Nation of Islam, not for my parents, but for myself. Because when the day of judgment comes, we have to depend on our own faith and not our parents' faith. So I chose to be a part of the Nation of Islam. I raised my hand and stood up in front of the mosque number 45, because I feel like I needed to. And that day, the lecture that Mr. Halim, the minister of Mosque 45, did that day, every word that he said connected with me so much in the place that I was that day. So I said, this is it. This is Allah telling me through him that it's time to join the Nation of Islam. At this moment, I am not fully registered. I'm still processing. So I'm in the process of writing my letter and reciting.
Well, hey, you registered in my book. So Sister Qiana, like, I love her confidence. I see where she gets it from. So what do you like hearing your daughter talk about her appreciation for you and your husband accepting the teachings and it benefits them? Like, how does that make you feel as a parent?
I'm so grateful to Allah. I know for me, one of the decisions for me joining was for my children. I just wanted something better. I wanted something different. I wanted them to have an opportunity to have freedom, justice, and equality, to experience life as it should be experienced. And even though a lot of things, I'm gonna tell you, Brother Minister Willie, a lot of things was not attractive to me, but I had to put myself aside, because I mean, just being real, me being in this garment, that's a whole nother notion. Like, I was like, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I could do that. But it was above that once I really got an understanding. I mean, the teachings teach us everything, how to walk, how to talk, the proper way of handling people. I mean, everything that you need to know. And I know that we have to be totally re-educated. And I wanted that supreme wisdom for my children. I really did. And so I'm so grateful that decision to get out my own way, was a blessing to my children.
Beautiful. And as we have about 3 more minutes before we go into our next break. But Sister Aliyah, you mentioned how you graduated valedictorian from Elevated Places. Can you talk about, like, I'm a teacher and I see that some of our students, they lack the discipline that would allow them to be masters in their educational pursuits. Like, what were some of the things that you did that allowed you to be able to even accomplish that goal of, or that accomplishment of being valedictorian?
Well, it was just going to one of my first schools was MUI in Houston, Texas, and Sister Lydia was my teacher there. So she gave me my foundation I can do whatever I need to do, and I can go after it. Beyond what other people say, I can do whatever I put my mind to. And when I went to the Elevated Places, like I said in my valedictorian speech, they kept that same energy. So they taught me to keep on going, to do everything you have to do, and don't worry about the naysayers. So that's exactly what I did. And I just kept that momentum because I had people to back me, and I had a strong foundation, and I had a lot of supporters in my life in that moment.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And we have 1 more minute, Sister Qiana. Can you just talk about your appreciation for Elevated Places and MUI University?
I think that the educational component is huge. As a member of the Nation of Islam, with, I said, the mindset of having to be totally re-educated, I think it's an extension of our faith. And so I am so appreciative of MUI and the Elevated Places, because that's the real foundation. They see our children more than we see them, teachers, most of the time. And so it was very important to me that I had a loving village around my girls. And that's exactly what they got from MUI and Elevated Places. I can't thank the teachers and the staff enough. They are a part of our family.
Wow, beautiful. And thank you. Loving the responses. Y'all, not only are y'all coordinating with the color, y'all feeding off of each other with your responses as well. So we're coming up on our first break, brothers and sisters. We're going to pause from some announcements from our sponsors. Then we'll be back with more of this dynamic interview with our Sister Aliyah Muhammad and her mother, Sister Qiana Muhammad.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps us to highlight solutions for a brighter tomorrow. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Asiatic Minds, online education, helping our children to discover their God-given skills, gifts, talents, and passion that will allow them to see their greatness, as well as the greatness of our people, and upon discovering that greatness, infusing them with the desire to use it for the betterment of themselves, their families, our people, and the world. Call now, 502-219-4848.
This is Sister Sajda Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajda House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahouse.com.
The hashtag Bank Black social media campaign made strides not only in revolutionizing how we bank, but also how we think. The movement inspired thousands of African Americans across the country to transfer or deposit millions of dollars into Black-owned banks. These are banks that will invest in urban communities, employ African Americans, support Black businesses, and inspire Black home ownership. This is a very proud moment for our culture as we are taking small, but significant, steps towards building Black power through Black wealth.
Thank you for tuning in to NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, National Network View. This is Clifton Muhammad with nnvnews.com.
One of the purposes of this show is to provide our audience with the opportunity to hear the testimonies of others, with the hope of them doing so would help them see and understand the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan better. Question. So was reading the Final Call newspaper the first time you heard of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan?
No, sir. Like I said before, after I came across one of Dr. Khalid Muhammad's, the timeline on YouTube or whatever, it necessarily brought up other videos of the minister. That's what I was saying. So it was initially some of Dr. Khaled's stuff that I saw, but it led to other folk in the nation. So I was familiar with some of the teachings, but not deep like that. But I would literally sit up and listen to a 2-hour lecture, with no problem. But that's how initially that seed, a few years before, I would find myself in the belly of the beast, that I learned of it, and I knew then that I'm gonna get the subscription. Ask my mother to get me the subscription.
So Qiana, this next question is for you. I would like to first ask you this question to lay the base for Sister Aliyah to talk about her meeting with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I heard you share an experience during her graduation party there in Houston years ago. Can you talk about the health challenge that you and your family experienced with Sister Aliyah that will eventually lead to her meeting the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan?
Yes, sir. As far as Sister Aliyah is concerned, it was discovered when I was pregnant with her, that she would have some health issues and some difficulties in terms of giving birth to her. They were encouraging me to, do all types of tests to see if she would have retardation and all kind of other things. And I'm like, if she does, what I'm gonna do about it, besides, take care of my baby. And so it was told to me at birth that she would have to have emergency procedure, emergency brain procedure, which by the grace of Allah never happened. And she was diagnosed with hydrocephalus as an infant. And so that entails a lot of severe headaches and seizures and nausea and different things. She also suffered some developmental delays. She took a longer time to talk, a longer time to walk than all of my other children. And so in working with her through that and with my family to try to make her as comfortable and as normal as possible in terms of her education and everything that we provided to her, because we didn't want to get her on all of those medications. At one point, we did go to the hospital where we were considering a surgical procedure. And Aliyah was just doing so great. She was a toddler and she was doing really well. And we went to the hospital and we saw other children with her condition who received a shunt. And this is a procedure that they like to do for individuals with hydrocephalus. And they were not at all on the same level with the abilities and capabilities that Aliyah had. And so I was like, having to wrestle with that decision of whether I wanted to have that procedure when she was very young. And we prayed about it, and my husband and I made the decision not to go forward with that procedure. And so Aliyah has been a real champ. She has dealt with hydrocephalus and experiencing the results of headaches and all of that. She has a very high tolerance for pain at this point. And so unless she's very, very uncomfortable or ill, we most of the time will never know it, because she does not complain and she really doesn't say a whole lot about it. But we did, and I'm going to tell you, we did make sure that she had bean soup every day. We had bean soup in this one bottle. Like, she was one of the ones who stayed on bean soup all the time. And then they had bean soup at school. And so as they got older, I'm going to tell you the truth, I started slacking on the bean soup at home. And she began to experience more difficulties with her hydrocephalus. And then at some point, she had some issues where her vision started to bother her, because she has a few tumors on her brain. And so that experience led her to being hospitalized, and the doctors, again, trying to really, we thought, experiment on her regarding a procedure that may, leave her paralyzed or just in a different state than, we know our Aliyah to be. And that was another incident where we had to wrestle with it and think about it and really pray about it and decide not to go that direction. And so from that experience, I believe Sister Aliyah began to really look into how to eat to live, and worked with Brother Willie Muhammad and tried to, get a plan together, because we did tell him about her being like really consistent, raised on bean soup, always having bean soup. Then there's a period where, that didn't happen, and how the symptoms began to, develop and, things worsen. And so we went back to the original drawing board. She started doing the bean soup every day and added other foods to her diet, and was strictly vegetarian. She's vegetarian now, and she has made a tremendous change and progress in her condition. Does she still have days? Yes, she has days, but she's been able to kind of handle her health issue with the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and how to eat to live. And she did an experiment on herself, and she wrote the minister about her experience with her experiment. And she was given, and we were blessed with the opportunity to meet him after he reviewed her letter.
Wow, see, I didn't know she did an experiment on herself, and she wrote to minister. So, Sister Leah, these next two questions are for you. Is a two-part question. I'll start with the first one. Really, is a three-part question. All right, tell us about the experiment that your mother talked about, and you writing to minister.
All right, the experiment she's talking about. I had to create an experiment, and my hypothesis was, based on what I eat, of how much nutritional value it has on it, does it have effect on the human body? And so I decided to use my own condition, hydrocephalus, to see if the nutrition in food can heal it or help it. And in conclusion, it was a positive result. But based on what I ate, the foods that had high nutritional value helped me with the symptoms of headaches, nausea, vomiting. I charted it. I did it for a span of 9 months. The first couple of months, I did foods with little to no nutritional value. In the next couple of months, I did with high nutritional value. And I did all the things that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to do in How to Eat to Live. And after that, every day, every week, I will measure my head size to see how big or small it was getting based on the food that I was eating. I will measure the pain level from 1 to 10, 1 being I'm not really having a headache, 10 being the highest that I'm in severe pain. And by the end of the experiment, I can summarize and say my headache level was about a 5 or a 6 at the highest, and my headache went down an inch or two. And I was able to present that project at a competition called AXO that was founded by the NAACP. And we had to do that as part of our curriculum at the Elevated Places. And God, thank Allah, praise be to Allah, I won gold at the regional competition, and I was able to go to the national competition with a few others. And I did not place, but I did have that experience. And to be able to spread the word of the messenger, I don't need any gold, silver, and I don't need anything to say that I did that, and people will know his words and where I got it from. And my mentor was Dr. Willie Muhammad, like she said, the founder of the Ultimate Wellness Group, and he was a big part of me being able to do that project.
That is amazing. So as we get ready to go into this next break, what were your initial thoughts when you were told, I guess by your mother, I don't know if somebody from the minister's office contacted you and say, okay, we're going to set up a meeting with you and your family to meet Minister Farrakhan? What were your thoughts?
I was like, so it happened. We sent a letter, and it was Savior's Day 2018, and it was during Savior's Day. We went to the workshops, and like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was just going heavy on how to eat to live, and that's when he made making 1 meal a law, 1 meal a day a law. And I was just, okay, he's doing how to eat to live. I sent him my letter. I hope he ready. And then the day that we were leaving, that Monday, everybody leaves, we were leaving, and we were packing up, getting ready. And then my mom was like, she got a text from Sister Rachel, one of her friends in the mosque, who helped us send the letter to the minister. And she was like, y'all need to go to the minister's room because he wants to meet you because of the letter. And when my mom told me that, I was like in shock for a minute, and I didn't have no thoughts. And then when I went back to present time, my mind just went crazy, and I was super nervous. I was super excited. So we hurried up and got dressed, and we was able to go to the minister's room, and we talked about my project, and he was so proud of me. And he actually gave me an assignment. He told me to go around the nation, go to as many miles there is, and tell them about your project, and tell them your testimony of proving the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's words right in How to Eat to Live. I'm still on a journey to do that because of COVID. That's kind of on the standstill, but I am still working to do that. And that whole experience was it was kind of an out-of-body experience for me, because it was incredible. He prayed for us. The whole research team was there. It was a beautiful experience. And I wasn't by myself. I was able to take my mom, my dad, and most of my sisters. So we all had that experience as a unit, and it was just a beautiful experience.
We're coming up on our next break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about that experience. We'll hear from Sister Qiana as well. But that is a fascinating story, the experiment and everything. So we're going to pause for our announcements from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with our guests, Sister Aliyah Muhammad and Sister Qiana Muhammad.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button, or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at National Network View. I am Minister Muhammad with nnvnews.com.
Last year, we had Father Pfleger as a guest on the show. He spoke with us about the heart of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
This is genuine. And in fact, he practices what he speaks and what he preaches. You know, everybody always says, you know, and especially I get it from other pastors, people, you know, you take a lot of heat because of your relationship and your very public relation with the minister. And I said, well, what about the heat the minister takes for his relationship with a white Catholic boy named Mike Pfleger? And he and I have spoke about this numerous times over these 30 years. And both of us have said, you know, our friendship is real. Our love for one another is real. It's genuine. It's deep. He is my brother, and I believe I am his brother. And that love, I think the reason so many people get angry about it is because they want to somehow rip us apart. And they don't want to see that a Muslim leader like Minister Farrakhan and a Catholic priest like Mike Pfleger can have this real, authentic, deep, loving bond that hate and all, it breaks all the barriers that people have preconceived in their mind. It throws all that out and lets them know that the love is deeper than all the preconceived thoughts and all those that have sought to try to keep us divided all these years.
Beautiful, beautiful. So we're back. So we heard our Sister Aliyah talk about meeting the minister, and we have some images of that as well. So Sister Qiana, you were there, and I found you actually sent this to me early on, a little 15-second clip of you all meeting the minister. So what were your thoughts when you had the opportunity there with your daughter, there doing this mighty experiment, and then you come in there with your family and hear the minister share with her and with you all?
So in the beginning, when I got the call from Sister Rachel from Houston, I started acting like a crazy woman. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I started running around the hotel and yelling at people like, "Come on, do this and do that." And although I had met with the minister a few times before that occasion, it's just never normal though. So it's just, you never get used to it. And so that's how I was initially, acting like a crazy person. And then we got to the hotel and, of course, went into the room, which I thought, was going to be something very brief in my head. He was going to greet us and, give us good words and, let us go about our way. And when we entered, it just was an experience that I wish I could tell in detail, but I was just so overwhelmed. He greeted each and every one of us personally. And I can't even describe that hug. It's no words for it. And he also started telling them to take out chairs. And I was like, why are they taking out chairs? And so they started taking out chairs and he asked us to sit down with him. And so we actually sat down with him. And like Sister Aliyah said, there was members with already there when we entered the room from the research team. And I believe Brother Jabril as well. And we sat down and he started talking about reading the letter and how nicely it was written and composed. And he asked Sister Aliyah, he said, "You wrote this letter?" And she was like, "Well, I had help. I didn't write it by myself." And she started saying, Sister Wakiti and Dr. Akili, and she started naming all of the people who helped her. And he stopped for a minute and he was like very impressed that she didn't take all the credit, that she was like giving everybody, who helped her and assisted her with writing that letter. And then he just began to talk to us, and have conversations with us, and we were conversing. And he said a prayer that I'm trying to tell you, just thinking about it. It was very beautiful and very heartfelt, where you knew that he was connected to God and had a relationship with God. And really, this was his child. And that was just amazing to me. He prayed for my child like it was his child. And so after the prayer, he looked at us and he said, "It is done." So he asked Allah to heal her, to, protect her, to make sure she didn't, suffer and have any issues with her condition. And everybody in the room was crying. Everybody in the room was crying. And so it was just an indescribable meeting. I don't really know why we were so blessed, but definitely grateful.
Beautiful. Sister Liv, what are you hearing your mother recap that meeting? And I guess talking about it, I can imagine that it brings thoughts to your mind. Looking back at it now, what are your thoughts about that whole meeting, and even the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan praying for you and your family?
When I go think about that moment, I'm just sitting as she was talking. I just went back to that moment years ago in 2018, sitting in this room, and I'm trying not to cry, but it was, I can't even put it into words. It's hard to put into words of how I felt and how the rest of my family must have felt. It just, if I can impossibly possibly put it in one word, it'll be grateful, he'll be thankful. I'm just thankful and grateful for that opportunity and to be able to be in front of and be prayed for by the man of God is a one in a lifetime opportunity, obviously. And I was just, I can't even really describe how I felt at that moment. It was incredible.
Let me gather myself. We gotta unmute my mic. Wow. So let me ask you all this. You have any opportunity to experience the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in that way? And a part of this show is to really, to have people like yourselves who've had the opportunity to interact with the minister, to give the testimony, to help people to see he's not this man that the enemy tries to make him out of. So this is for both of you all. If you had to stand before the world and testify, and I know Sister Qiana, you're an attorney, you know the power of testimony, and testify about one quality of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, what would that quality be that you would choose to testify about?
Well, I would say for me, if anyone has had the opportunity to be in his presence, and like I said, I've had the opportunity a few times by the grace of God to be in his presence. You cannot walk away from that man believing that he is not with God. He is divine. And so if anyone has met him, really met him, and talked to him for a minute, he carries his own atmosphere that he invites you to it. Like he is love embodied. And so it is no way. I don't care if you've heard all of the speeches, anything somebody say about him. Once you get with him and get in his presence, your mind won't even let you believe that. You can't walk away and accept that. And so I would say love, but not in that foolish way that we think about it. He's love in all ways. When they say God is love, that's the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
What do you have to say, Sister Aliyah?
I would say he's love personified, he's humility, he's warmth. And I just don't understand, honestly, for me, I just don't understand who would have something negative to say about a man like that. Like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is different. And when you get in, and when you have the experience and the opportunity to be in his presence, it's a different type of energy that he surrounds. That's the type of man, when you're by him, you know he's connected to a higher source than everyone that you ever met in your life. And I was reading the Twitter book that Brother Qiana wrote when he wrote all the questions and answers that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gave to all of the questions he was tweeted for. And he answered the question, what does it mean to be human? Mm-hmm. And he said that human is a person who mastered the flesh that belongs to the earth. And he talked about at the end of the book of Revelation, Christ was able to do that for other people. And we know that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is our Messiah and our Jesus Christ in this day and time. And he is able to teach us how to master the body that we are composed in the shell that we are in today. And he has the ability to master the body that he's in. He was on the table, had an operation where they put 1,000 radiation seeds in him. And you can't tell me biologically that he should be alive to this day, but he is. And why? I can't tell you. I can't answer it. The only thing I can tell you is that he's connected to a higher being. He's connected to Allah. He also says he doesn't need an army to protect him because he has Allah God, and that's the greatest army you can ever have. So if I can stand on top of the world and give my testimony about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I will say he's human, 100%. He's truly human, and he's love and everything that is great.
Oh, wow. I just got to sit in that, sister. All praise is due to Allah. Beautiful responses. We're coming up on our last break, and we'll be back. I know for those who are watching it, you all can't see the comments, but people are enjoying this interview. We'll be back after we hear from our sponsors with our dynamic guests. Peace.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
Asiatic Minds, online education, helping our children to discover their God-given skills, gifts, talents, and passion that will allow them to see their greatness as well as the greatness of our people. And upon discovering that greatness, infusing them with the desire to use it for the betterment of themselves, their families, our people, and the world. Classes begin September 1st. To enroll, visit AsiaticMinds.com. Greetings from National Network View. This week's Final Call cover story headline is dedicated to a good man and his good works. Longtime Chicago pastor and activist Father Michael Pfleger has worked tirelessly on behalf of poor and disenfranchised residents for decades in the face of opposition and trials. He continues to fearlessly fight and press ahead for the most vulnerable communities. This FCN volume number 37 edition middle page article is a message by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan entitled, "We Must Depend on Allah and Ourselves." To read more, subscribe to finalcalldigital.com and tune in to the all-new Final Call Radio. This is the nnvnews.com Final Call cover report.
He anointed our head with oil till our cup runneth over. He who, Master Farrakhan, Muhammad, that is he.
This is Sister Sajda Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajda House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahouse.com.
Please make sure you leave your comments and questions in the comment section below. Follow us on Facebook, National Network View, and make sure to check us out on Twitter as well, National Network View. This is Sergio Gutierrez with National Network View, signing off.
We mentioned in the intro that our sister Aliyah is also a member of the multi-championship junior MGT drill team of Mosque number 45 in Houston, Texas, the Southwest region. Well, we were blessed to find some footage of her and her sisters drilling. So sister, that was powerful. So Sister Aliyah, we just saw that clip that was from 2016 performance. And can you share with us what it was like to work to learn that routine, and how were the practices, and just how does it feel to do all of that practice and preparation and then actually take home the gold, take home the trophy?
The preparation part, the whole performance is only a 1 minute and 35-second performance or routine, but the preparation is the most important part, as my coaches say, and all my coaches were very intense. Talk about drill being an exercise of God. That is an exercise within itself. It's full cardio, and just imagine us doing that same routine over and over and over again. But I wouldn't change anything else for the world. I was blessed to create a powerful sisterhood with everybody on that team and on that drill team. And my sister Destiny, who you heard being the DI, she is one of the many DIs, and just hearing her, just having the connection with her as my sister, and beyond that, having the connection with her as my DI instructor is something on another level. And to be able to be a part of that team who won, it's, praise be to Allah, it's the best feeling ever to win something, to righteously win something with other sisters from a different city or Nas, and to be able to get first place is incredible, and it's the most amazing feeling in the world.
And she did, Brother Minister Willie, she did also meet with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that year.
What?
As well, yes.
I didn't know. Well.
Yes. What did he tell you, Ali?
Yeah. He told me that I was the reason why we won that year. And when he told me that, it felt amazing. And the minister says things to you, and it's more to make you feel good. It's also based on logic, and it makes sense. I was the tallest person on the team, so if I did mess up, we may not have won. So praise be to Allah, I did not mess up, and our routine, not to be biased, but it was incredible. Our uniforms was hot and good and fashionable, so we won because of that, and modest, of course. We were modest, so yeah, praise be to Allah, we won. But he said that to me, and it was based on, it makes sense. And it made me feel good at the moment, but I had to think about why he said it, and it made perfect sense.
But every time I can say that there has been an occasion for him to have an eyesight or some view of Sister Aliyah, for some reason he stops and he interacts with her, you know, by the grace of God. That was one of the occasions that I believe he was coming out of the hotel and he saw her and he stopped and engaged her and they had a conversation. And then before that, at the mosque, a whole room full of people, he walked directly to her and started talking. So
that was when they introduced the elevated places. I wish I could have found some footage of that, because that you're right, he came directly to her. And so Sister Qiana, I'll ask you this question. It's a two-part question. One, like, how did you feel seeing your daughter up there right flanking, left flanking? And also, can you briefly share some words too, in addition, about the power of a testimony from a legal perspective?
Yes, sir. My daughters, I had 3 of them drilling. I have 5 girls, but I had 3 of them drilling together on occasion. And it is just so beautiful to see them being themselves, really. And they actually, I believe, their abilities and their strength come really from real unity as a group. I love all them girls. So, I mean, all of them are my babies, really. And the children of the elevated places and the children of MUI, like I'm an auntie to everybody. So I think that the community that we've created, and they drill every day. And I think that's really what made a champion, not just a routine, because they had the spirit. At MUI and school, they drilled every day. And that's why I say the education is so important, because it's just not something they did for a competition. It was part of who they were, their life. And so that's why it was very much heartfelt when they did win, because it's like this is showing that all of that was not in vain. You know, the sacrifices we've made for our children, because they come out on top all the time. you know, when we put them in the right environment and in the position to do so. And so just as an attorney, in terms of the testimony of witnesses, especially eyewitnesses, like I said, that is something that is very serious in the court. And so in being an eyewitness, not knowing what somebody told me or what I heard, but being an eyewitness of the character and the heart of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I would call you and be like, let me get on the show, because I know how important it is to have that, because you have to be able to share what it is that you know. And I remember growing up in the church, and we had an opportunity to, you know, give our testimony. That's where everybody say, give it out to God, and, you know, you start sharing your testimony. I always felt compelled, like, to show that God is real in everything and in our everyday lives. And so when somebody gives me an opportunity to share that, I feel it's my duty to do that. And then when being an attorney, in terms of knowing that value of having credible witnesses who've actually seen, heard, and listened to all of the things that we're now in debate about, there's a conflict about, somebody has to make a decision about something. And so they're depending and relying on what you say. And we have our witnesses to take an oath that they're telling the truth. And so it is very important in my field to have witnesses and to have good witnesses. And you have a lot of people who, you know, come into the court system that don't have witnesses. And you have people saying, can I just send you a letter? No, you sending me a letter is not going to do anything for my client and for this individual. I need you there. I need the judge to look at your face, to hear it in your voice, to know that you are real and sincere about what you're saying. And I'm so happy to have this opportunity, because I am sincere in what I'm saying about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because I've had the opportunity to experience him for myself.
Whew. Beautiful, beautiful. And we're going to close out on this one. This will be with you, Sister Aliyah. And you know, what was interesting when I saw, this was the first time this ever happened, when I saw you post the flyer for this show, you quoted a scripture. And I've had numerous guests on, and nobody has ever done that, especially somebody that's young, right? And so you quoted Matthew chapter 24, verse 13, which reads, and I quote, "But the one who endures to the end will be saved." So in this closing, what made you quote that?
Because the full verse, well, it's not all put together. It's like in different verses, but if you put it all together, the full saying or the full verse that I use, and I use the momentum to keep going, is the race is not for the swift nor the strong. The race is for the ones who can endure to the end. And that is the epitome of me, because most of my life, I wasn't the fastest person to learn something. I wasn't the highest. I didn't make the highest grades as the other students, but I got through it, and I did it, and I did what it could not be done. And that verse in itself, I just broke. I don't want me to feed my ego, but I have broke so many barriers that doctors and a whole bunch of people put in front of me, and it's just incredible. And I am just learning.
Take your time, and you're not feeding your ego at all. You're testifying. It is what it is.
By the power of our God.
That's it.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
You want to finish, Sister Aliyah?
Yeah, I want to finish. Okay. Yes, I want to finish. And I just use that verse to keep going and to remind myself, you're going to make it through. It doesn't matter how fast you get there, but you're going to make it through, because look at what you did before that said that most people said couldn't be done. And I just use that as my momentum and my base and my foundation to do what Aliyah Muhammad needs to do to get things done.
Wow, beautiful. And closing, just this question just come to mind. I'll be real brief. Sister Qiana, what does the name mean?
Most High.
Most High.
It's the female of Ali.
Wow. Praise be to Allah. Well, thank you all for your beautiful testimony. Listen, I've done many interviews. This has to be the most beautiful one. This was very beautiful and very touching, and it's touching everybody. Thank you all, and may Allah continue to bless you. Thank you too, Sister Aliyah. Love your confidence and love your testimony. Thank you too, Sister Qiana, for all the work that you're doing and for your beautiful daughter and daughters, and give your husband the greetings as well.
Thank you, brother, for your show. We needed it.
Yes, ma'am. And for those who are watching, we thank you all for tuning in. Continue to share this interview. We're going to quickly go through our announcements that we normally do. You have them, Brother Musai? So, you know, we have our building fund. You know, we're not building fund. We're trying to pay off the mortgage here in our mosque. So please contribute. You can do that via PayPal. You can do that via Cash App. Share the flyer. Also, in addition to that, if there are any of those who you all need to have someone pray for you and your family during this COVID period and even beyond, please submit your name and their name, and we'll submit it to our prayer group. In addition to that as well, you have my books that you can purchase on Amazon.com, or you can go to www.mosque46.org and you can purchase some of the books that I've been blessed to write by Allah's grace. And we thank you all, brothers and sisters. Please make sure that you hit the like button, make sure you leave comments, and make sure you subscribe to NNV. This is your daily digital news, national news network. This is not just another little YouTube online show. Please, we need your support. Subscribe and ask others to do the same. So thank you all for joining us. This is your brother Willie Muhammad with National Network View. Peace.
God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us.
He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.